Marvel seemed to have not gotten the memo when they did the whole reboot, was to kind of slow things down. First off, we have the Age of Ultron event, which I completely love. It was really good and such a game changer. And now they are currently just now nearly finishing off Infinity, which is really, really good. I utterly love this event. And while they've just ended the Hunger, kind of like, not necessarily an event, but kind of like a prelude to the next sort of ultimate event, which is the Ultimate Catalysm. That is really sort of good. I read the first issue just now, really good. So obviously having too many events is going to ruin probably your Marvel sort of business, but they didn't get that memo, and now we have X-Men Battle of the Atom, which is written by Bendis, you know, one of my sort of favourite writers. And if you've probably watched my reviews of the singular issues to this event, you will know deep down that I just did not like this event whatsoever. And why is that? I'll tell you. Now, I may be spoiling some major plot points in this review, but hear me out. I'm trying to keep I'm not going to spoil everything, just maybe a couple of things. I found this event like a sloppy mess, and some things that just never got completely answered. Let me explain with the obvious one, with the first issue. Now, in the first issue, the all-new X-Men are out, you know, go out to save, try and get this new X-Men that they discovered, and try to get them onto their sort of side, and then are intercepted by Sentinels. And then, you know, they have a wee battle, and then all of a sudden the Uncanny X-Men come in and they help them out. And they're kind of relieved by this. Next thing we know that the past Cyclops gets shot by a Sentinel. And as a result, he dies. And with that, however, something else happened. The present Cyclops disappeared. Now you know that we start to realise that what happens if they stay in the present, and now we do, that they exist, that if they don't go back, then if they got, like, say, shot, injured badly, or something happens to them, then their present forms will feel the same conflict. But they manage to sort of save his life. He's not dead, and the present Cyclops comes back. Realising this, they decide to send him back into the past. Now, this is the thing that I hated, because they never really touched on that ever again. Like, throughout the whole 9 chapters after that one, they never talked about that again. So, and obviously within, I don't know if it's at chapter 7 or 8, but they tried, but the evil X-Men, also known as blah 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 blah, oh, you probably will figure it out, the not so future X-Men, now evil X-Men, try to send the old X-Men in the present back to the past so they can, like, save blah blah blah, you know, trying to sort of change the future, but it turns out that they can't go back into the past, which is weird. And then kind of like, huh? I was totally left field by this, and I was really kind of feeling like, why is this such a thing? If they can't go back to the past now, are they now have to stay in the present, and how dangerous this is for them and also their present selves. But another big thing I felt was the future. Now, I can understand that they can never really show too much of the future, but we wanted to know a reason to why it was there. Like, probably the big scheme point of the whole thing. We never really got that. We get glimpses of the future and what might have caused them to, you know, separate and whatnot, but it never really kind of fulfills and just feels kind of like stupid and dilated, and for that we still will never know unless they tell it in in future X-Men titles. And speaking of X-Men titles, I felt there was only 2 titles that really should have been part of this event, like, from the get-go, and that is All New X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. Reasonings for this is because they're both written by Bendis, but they both can sort of interlock with each other. They have done something, like, for the couple of issues that they've done, but they were really good titles when Bendis, you know, was taking sort of control of it. But by dragging kind of Wolverine and the X-Men and the newly just released X-Men, kind of like puts a bit of a strain on it, and which they actually did. They had to put like filler issues in which did nothing but just prolong the whole thing, and might have ruined the reputation of those comics, Wolverine the X-Men was a really good comic, never having a single bad issue. They might have had not really great issues, but decent issues, but never a bad issue to what I have read. And sadly they did with, I think it's issue 37, which was, I thought, the worst issue of that whole event. With that saying, however, there were a couple of things I did like. I liked to see, like, sort of how the present X-Men look in the future. Some of the artwork came back from past issues, like for instance Uncanny's artwork got back to the way that I liked it. I hated the whole, something like, they tried to go for like a realistic kind of computer animated kind of graphics thing, which I hated, but I loved that they did that back. And some of the humour was still pretty damn good, and some of the conflicts in it as well was pretty good as well. And the end result, well, was good. It's still not really great, still really cliche, but it was really kind of worth it in a way. However, in saying that, it's just, this event was just a complete waste of time, because Infinity, which is the current event that Marvel are doing, which is really their big event, is actually just 10 times better. And here's the thing, it has consistent story, consistent artwork, and its tie-in issues for it, which aren't really kind of tie-ins, are fantastic, that it just makes the whole event into a bigger picture, and can't wait for it to finish and review it. Now we're going to do two things. First off, my overall score. Now, I thought about this really well, and I'm really just going to give it an average 3 out of 5. Just to kind of have the consistent of it. I think a 3 out of 5 for this whole event is a good rating for it. Secondly, is I'm trying, again, something out. Like I probably have said, I didn't say, I can't really remember, oops, that I was reviewing these single issues as part of a wee experiment to see how if it was a lot better or not. And currently I'm doing this also with Forever Evil, which is really good so far, and you should check out those reviews. But also, I realised that while doing it, the time constraint can be a bit of an issue sometimes, and sometimes I was just like too busy to kind of like sort of do a review. But I actually enjoyed it, and sometimes I thought it was a lot better. Now, I'm not going to be doing this with every kind of comic that I'll do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try again another wee experiment, and so I'm going to create a playlist of all those single issue reviews that I have done, including the one that's added onto this. So I'll leave a link down below in an annotation somewhere in the video. And with that, I want to know your thoughts on this. Like, give a comment on what you thought of this whole event as a whole. Do you think this was a great event, good event, decent event, or like me, probably like a really bad event? Let me know, it's an interesting sort of topic to talk. And with that, guys, I will see you later.